first of all, we'll have the presentation from the part of Mr. Jeffrey Cassis.
Okay. I don't need the slides to talk, but are they teed up? All right, well, I'll start with, hopefully this will get, oh, here, that's the last one. All right. So this is a topic that I'll actually touch upon, the ability for wireless technologies to be able to control our environments. But let me get back to the beginning. Okay, so thank you. Thank you very much for having me here today. Again, I'm really honored to be here, have an opportunity to speak to all of you, both in the private sector as well as in the public sectors. As Philips Lighting, I've been responsible for the LED systems area for lighting, and this is something I'll talk a little bit about today. One of the areas that I feel that we really need to look hard at is the area of energy efficiency, of which I will speak to today, and really empowering the consumer to really take a responsibility for the agenda, the set agenda that's moving forward, and also in the EU agenda as well. If I look at this community here, what we're seeing is how much education is still required to really move forward the agenda for energy efficiency, and particularly in lighting, in the area that I'll talk about. Some of the global trends that are ongoing here, if you look at this particular slide from left to right, is that we're experiencing a massive flux of increase in population around the world, and they're moving to cities. So while cities are really part of the problem that we see where the infrastructure is being challenged, it's also a place where I think a lot of answers we'll find moving forward. There are also the challenges in cities is to create urban environments, creating livable cities, and how do you do this with light? And my focus today, in the few minutes that I have, is to really stimulate dialogue about how we as individual consumers, whether we're in private or public sectors, can use our energy much more efficiently, and lighting has a particularly important role in that as well. We also see that the ability for the middle class is changing, so there's a lot more access to buying light activities. And then also the topic that everyone's talked about on the last day and as well as today is the declining of various existing resources and the ability for us to stimulate moving forward with renewable resources. So what I think is important that we found around the world, here in Europe, here even in working in Italy, is that there really needs to be, we need to think differently about how we go about the challenges with LED lighting efficiencies. Different business models are opportunities for us as well. And this is an opportunity for us to look at changes that we see around the world. The world will need more light. The people around the world, there is an increase population, as I mentioned, but there's still over 1.5 billion people around the world that have no light. And Philips has been involved in a number of programs in Africa to bring solar lighting to different communities. And this is an area we're really driven towards, but also energy efficient light. This is an area that obviously a lot of innovation technology has moved forward in, and the new revolution that's going on is digital light. And I'll touch upon that as well, because this is an exciting area where we can connect lighting to the ecosystem, not only in energy, but also into other parts of our consumer behaviors. One of the areas that I want to touch upon is that light's been around for many, many years. The whole idea of building the first generating stations was to power the light bulb, the incandescent bulb, which was something that was invented over 120 years ago. But it really hasn't changed its form much I bet many people in this room still have incandescent bulbs in their home, and it uses energy very poorly. It wastes about 95% of the electricity that goes to it, but it really hasn't changed its form factor for many years. So we as Philips had, many years ago, got together with 55 other countries around the world to really phase out the incandescent bulb and look for new alternatives for energy efficiency, which is a very important area. And that really led us to the revolution that's occurred in LED technology. LED technology gives us the ability to have digital control of the light form. So you can actually now bring information to the light, bring information back. You can change the colors, tunable white, so you can dynamically control light. And that brings us to the next area of digital light. And digital light allows us to connect light more and more to the ecosystem, both in power as well as other opportunities that we see going forward. And the reason for lighting is that, as I mentioned earlier, that today 19% of the world's electricity is used to generate light for our homes, our businesses, for our streets. In Italy, the NEA group is estimated about 20% of the total electric goes to providing lights for Italy's streets and roads. And what I see today is that by going just to energy efficient, just by adopting LED technology, moving from high pressure sodium, for instance, here in Rome, to LED technology, immediate savings of up to 40 to 50%, some as high as 60%, depending on the adoption rate. And then if you use control technology, connecting it to devices to make it smart and intelligent, to only use light where you need it, when you need it, will have another additional savings. So there's a lot of technology has evolved. A lot of this is commercially available, and it's moving forward. So the transition to energy efficient light is here and now. And this is an area that we see that one of the simplest areas to reduce energy, improve energy efficiency is not to use it, as the previous speaker had mentioned. Also, what I see is the connected lighting opportunity. The one thing that I want to stress today is that really when you look at LED technology, what's happening next is beyond illumination. It's really what happens at the light point that you can do in addition to just providing light. So now that you have this very smart light source, whether it's on a street pole, whether it's in your home, whether it's in this building, the digital wall and ceilings, you now create the opportunity to bring information to a central management system where you can actually do other aspects with it. You can turn on fans for HVAC control, you can change temperatures in buildings, you can know proximity of people coming in and out of buildings. And this creates other dynamics in terms of the digital world, because then that moves you into the whole area of digital security and encryption and security associated with data, associated with actually digital light forms. So you can do it in the home, which we've been advocating and moving forward quite a bit of technologies and connecting it to other devices in the home. Also in retail, hospitality, opportunities to create more efficient environments in areas where you use quite a bit of energy. And more recently, the smart building evolution that we've seen. We've worked with a building just recently in Amsterdam, the Deloitte building, which is one of the smartest buildings in the world, and it really is an opportunity where you can actually create a digital wall and ceiling and have all this information available about how people use and harness the energy in those buildings. And what probably most dramatically is the streets and roads around the world. Here in Rome as well, you have over 200,000 light points that are not LED today and are looking to move forward in that area. Tremendous savings and opportunities, very, very fast opportunities for us. The other areas that I've noticed and we've studied quite a bit is what are the benefits of moving forward this in a rapid way? What can the SET agenda take upon it? And I see really three basic areas. You have tremendous economic impacts, tremendous opportunities to create jobs, lower energy bills. You know, the bill that the cities pay for lighting their infrastructures, or for consumers in their homes, or for the offices to run plants and so on. You have real estate value improvements by creating a more livable planet, as well as society benefits as well. And this is also one of the premier assets for lighting, is really to provide safety, but then you can do much more in lighting new experiences, creating new environments, improving health and well-being, because then you get after the other aspect of it that's really a nice opportunity as well is to reduce CO2 emissions and gas emissions. One of the nice things that I find in my job now is recruiting young people to Phillips in the area today that they care so much about the world and the environment around them, and they like coming in and actually having an ability to impact that. In the old lighting world, it might not have been that way, but in the new digital lighting world, you actually can have an impact both on health and well-being and also on the economy and feel like you have ability to connect. One of the other aspects that I want to put out for the agenda and the topics as well is the cross-sector collaboration. Because you have the infrastructure of lighting, you can actually bring other devices to the light poles. And we've teamed up with Ericsson recently to actually bring mobile communication, telecom devices to the light pole. And many cities around the world are experimenting with the idea of renting their pole to the telecom companies to bring that last bit of mobile devices to the consumer or operator in cities. It's a major transition that's going on. It's basically utilizing your infrastructure in different ways. LA is now experiencing that as well, and they're moving forward with this kind of agenda. The other areas where the takeaways and in a brief few comments that I have is that communication is really a very, very powerful aspect that was touched upon by our previous speaker, communicating the benefits of energy efficiency. So if I asked every one of you in this room to raise your hands whether you have an LED bulb in your home, you don't have to do it because you probably do, but how many are using LED technology today? So there's probably about, it looks like 60, 70%, which I expect in this room, right? You're supposed to be looking at energy efficiency. So it starts with you individually, and then it spreads from that aspect as well. And it's really become more and more affordable. The paybacks are much better for home use as well as consumers and roads. The next area is technology. Now, obviously, I talked about energy efficiency. The other area is the attractive business models that you can actually use today. So we've introduced a number of new models, which is basically lighting as a service and being able to pay for the light as you use it, when you need it and where you need it. Incentivizing programs for both government use and how do we pay for these services. Many cities are broke, have very little monies. So how do we actually get these technologies in the hands of people that can use it and be able to take advantage of financing options and so on. In summary, I feel like the world, let's see. It'll probably jump over the last one. All right, here we go. So in summary, I think the point that I'd like to leave you with is lighting is a major energy usage, basically a big energy bill today, and we have opportunities to reduce it today because lighting is going to be more and more a part of our lives, so we need to move more toward energy efficiency. I think the connected lighting, I hope that is a theme that I brought forward today, that you'll see new opportunities to connect lighting to the infrastructures in smart cities. The NEA group with their Lemire project is an example of that, some really good initiatives going on in Italy to look at how do you connect lighting to the broader energy infrastructure and to have an integrated, sustainable, and affordable lighting opportunity going forward, as well as energy efficiency. And I think lastly, the SET plan can take on agendas and speed up adoption. One is the energy consumer aspects is very, very important, getting them and feeling empowered, feeling that they can make a difference and make change happen. I think that's very, very important. And I think I'd like to close with the opportunity for all of us to take that role on as individuals, as stakeholders, as leaders in your communities, in your governments, in your public and private enterprises. You have the opportunity to set the example. So thank you very much for allowing me to give you my brief remarks, and I hope it stimulates ideas and thoughts. And I just like to say that when you go home tonight, remember to turn off the lights in your homes.